Big scoop this week.
Big scoop.
Huge. Alex Heath, scoop machine. Scooped Meta so hard that they talked about him in all hands meetings after the scoop.
Yes.
Which is the funniest part of the whole puzzle.
That's when you know it's a good scoop.
I can't tell you what I know. I just know that in many meetings at Meta after Alex scooped the roadmap, they talked about Alex, which is very good. Subscribe to Command Line. I think he's going to have some of that gossip in Command Line this week. Anyway, so Heath gets the entire AR VR roadmap out of Meta for the next 4 years.
Along with like their insight, right? Like their insight into why they're doing this and how they're going to do it.
Yeah, and Meta has been through, like, I would say, a weird period. They laid a bunch of people off. Mark Zuckerberg's under fire for focusing on the metaverse. The Quest Pro is behind me over there. That thing has not been charged in weeks and weeks now. Quest Pro came out, lots of hype. Zuckerberg is like doing virtual kickboxing with Joe Rogan, trying to tell people the metaverse is here. The product is not good. The Quest 2, in my opinion, is a superior product to the Quest Pro because it's more accessible, it's cheaper, it's just value for dollar, right? You get more value for dollar in the Quest 2 than the Quest Pro. And then Horizon is just a mess, just a full mess. And then Meta has layoffs and the advertising market's down. Apple's like done the ad tracking transparency thing. Tough times for Meta all around. So they have this like roadmap presentation of AR and VR and what they're going to do. And importantly, Alex, why they're doing it and where they think the money is going to come from.
Yeah. It's fascinating because I think we so often just get these roadmaps. A lot of times when these kind of leaks happen, usually it's just like, here's some documents showing the roadmap. And in this case, we get so much insight into what they're doing and their plans that I think was really, really helpful. Even if it does showcase like an optimism that I think is extraordinarily foolish.
Well, so let's start with the one piece of the puzzle that I think all of us have been curious about.
Yes.
They said they have sold nearly 20 million Quest headsets to date. That's Quest 1 and Quest 2, although I think Quest 2 is the vast majority of that. That's not bad for a games console.
Yeah, that's like pretty solid.
The number for the Nintendo Switch, which is now officially the third best-selling console of all time, is 122.5 million. It's a lot. Yeah. Obviously far more than 20 million. But in context, I think we all thought that the Quest 2 or the Quest was smaller.
Yeah.
So it's a decent number for the hardware. But the thing that was in the article that I kind of didn't understand is they're saying that the Quest 3 is going to be at least a little bit more expensive.
Oof.
So how do you get people to pay more? What exactly are they going to put in it that people are going to pay more for?
Right. Or are they going to try to continue to grow the market, right? And say, okay, it's the Quest 3 now.
They already raised the price of the Quest 2.
Right. I mean, this is like the classic problem. Like, are you trying to get everyone to upgrade? Are you trying to get 20 million people upgrade and you think that your whole market is 20 million people? Or do you think the market is 100 million devices? You're going to keep supporting the Quest 2 and you're going to go try to get the next 80 million people with the Quest 3. I don't know. I think they don't know.
I don't know that you can get 20 million people or, another 20, 80 million people, whatever, with the Quest 3 because it's more expensive. The get for the Quest 2 was its affordability. It was that perfect blend, which is why I think they were talking in the roadmap. There's plans for another device that's going to be cheaper, that's going to hit that sweet spot while also kind of like maximizing the VR capabilities.
I've heard this before. It was called the Sega Saturn N32X. I don't think that worked out very well.
So here's a quote. Meta says they're on the third year of Quest 2. And the newer people that are coming in, the people who bought it this last Christmas, they're not as into it as the ones who bought it early, which kind of makes sense, right? The early adopters are into it. The early adopters are going to use a lot. People get it as a Christmas gift. They're kind of going into an ecosystem that is mature. Horizon is not the thing.
Right.
It's games. Like the thing is a games console. You need great games every season. I don't think the Quest had great games. So the Quest this year. So the Quest 3 is going to hit with 41 new apps and games, including some new mixed reality stuff. There's going to be pass-through that works really well. This is the mainstream headset that's coming. What I would put around the context I would put around that 20 million number is Microsoft sells 20 million of the Xbox Series consoles, and they're like, this is a great business. We sell a ton of games. People love this thing. We should buy Activision. because people are buying games and subscribing to Xbox Live, and they monetize that so well. Meta is like the new people who buy this aren't even like using it as much. So that entire secondary ecosystem that you need to make money off of this device does not yet exist for Meta.
One thing that we've seen that they maybe are trying to expand that, the Battle Royale game, what is that, Population One, or maybe I'm maybe in a different one?
Yeah.
They're making that free to play, like
Yeah.
games on other consoles are, which is one approach. We saw it, obviously Fortnite is the biggest example, but that's one way that you can kind of onboard people onto it. You can say, okay, look, you get the headset, you can just play it with your friends who are playing it. You don't have to buy another thing. And then, of course, you start spending money on the in-game cosmetics and whatnot.
I think we're seeing like Meta's misunderstanding of what their audience is, because Meta's so focused on building the metaverse and getting every single person you knows into the metaverse. They forgot that they've just really built a really good game console, and they're in the video game business, and they need to be doing what Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo do, which is focus on making really good games. And instead they're like, no. We're going to go and we're going to do the Quest 3. And yeah, it'll be a little bit more expensive, but it's going to blow your socks off. And as we saw happen with Sega, as we saw happen with the PS3, those tend to be kind of like, if not boondoggles, certainly not successes.
But wait, the PS3 was a huge success.
They lost a lot of ground to Xbox that generation.
Yeah, they lost a ton of ground.
But it was still like, it still grew the market for games. Like,
it grew the market for games, but it didn't grow. Like, the people going and buying the PS3 already owned a PS2. It wasn't like a whole new audience. And Meta's right now needs to be building a whole new audience. And instead they're like, no, we want to just go build cool hardware, which I, as a hardware lover, I respect, but like, oof.
Here, I'll make the same comparison, the same point you're making, Alex. I agree with you. The better one is the Xbox One, where Microsoft was like, here's what we did. We made a Windows PC for your living room that you can play games on. And now we're going to talk about how much of a Windows PC it is. By the way, it also has an IR blaster to control your cable box. And everyone's like, where's the games? And they're like, no, don't you want to run Windows in your living room? And that was a disaster.
That's a good point.
Right? Like, that's where Microsoft lost all the ground, where they had remember that E3 where they talked about everything with video games?
Everybody was so mad. And now we're on what? 5th gen?
Yeah.
Boom.
And boy, has the NVIDIA Shield taken the world by storm.
There will be 17 revisions of the Quest 3 before they kind of get it right, probably.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is the exact point Alex is making. You're correct. Is when you make it a game console and you make it great, people buy it, they love it, they're going to play it more. When you start to be like, it's also a general purpose computer, and this is true, the Quest 2 right now, if you open it up, it wants you to do things other than play games. It's like, sign into your Facebook account. Here's this new thing. We've added multi-window support.
Horizons.
Yeah, it's all like, I don't want to do any of this stuff, man. I'm going to play NFL Pro Era. I'm going to be bad at being a quarterback for a while, and then I'm going to put this down. And like, that's all you want out of it. My PS5 is not like, oh, you're interested in Gran Turismo? Have you thought about opening a web browser? It's like, no, like, stop.
So where do we go from there? I guess we've got years of data of what Meta is going to do. What do they do next after the Quest 3?
The real stuff, and this is like the battle with Apple that's coming, is the AR glasses. So we are expecting some sort of mixed reality headset from Apple this year. And we're expecting a virtual reality headset with cameras that does pass-through. That's mixed reality. Very expensive. $3,000 and up from Apple, developer tool. I think we're expecting it around WWDC. This is the rumor. I don't know anything about this. This is what the people say. Meta is doing something very different. So the next generation in 2025 will just have a screen in the lens, and you'll be able to get notifications. Like they called it a viewfinder. You like incoming text messages, scan QR codes, translate text from one thing to another. This is like everyone's favorite demo.
And what's the other thing they're going to have?
They're going to have a smartwatch that controls it using a neural interface, which is tech that Meta has had and that they have demoed before. Addie has seen this technology. She loves it. She thinks it's so cool. She was very worried when Meta was doing the last. They were going to get rid of this, but they're betting on it, that instead of this thing right now where there's a bunch of cameras on a headset and you like wave your hands around and do pinching motions, they're going to be able to put a smartwatch on your wrist that will detect what your hand is doing. Which is, it's just cool. Like they have the technology, they've demoed it.
Yeah.
But the entire underlying thing here is Mark Zuckerberg knows that his company is at Apple's mercy. And we've seen it now several times. Like Apple pulls a security certificate, all of Facebook's internal systems stop working. Apple decides it wants ad tracking transparency, puts up the prompt. People say no, Facebook's business goes away. Mark Zuckerberg knows he's at the mercy of Apple. So if you want to make a smartwatch and you're like, you cannot reply to texts on it, on your phone, like you're done for. There's a reason there are no competitive smartwatches on iOS, because Apple restricts all the good capabilities to its own platform. And so building a smartwatch that's like still dependent on Apple, I don't think he's interested in that. So he's like, I'm gonna build a headset. The headset, you're gonna live in the headset, you're gonna brain in a vat, you're gonna post to Instagram all day. I'm gonna read your thoughts, and we're gonna move your laptop into this headset.
Well, they'll have a viewfinder. They'll have like that limited range that is already capable of in other glasses. Because I think that's the thing that I keep getting focused on with AR. We all have our little bits where we're like, AR can't happen until this happens, because there's so much stuff that has to happen first. And for me, I always get hung up on the, like, how are you going to use these? What's the technology behind the display? And in this case, it sounds like they're going to be using kind of robust technology that already exists, which is those little like tiny lasers and reflective, the whole reflective apparatus that North does.
Yeah, it's a little monitor in your glasses, and it can do things like show you a notification, and it sounds like it'll have a camera still, so it can do things like take a picture of a sign in a foreign language and then like show you what that text means. It does not appear that they're talking about you can overlay or augment reality with that screen.
Right.
We don't quite know, but it doesn't seem like that's the case.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because Apple's product is that thing. They're going to jump right there this year. And this Facebook smart glasses is 2025. Now, Facebook is then going to do its first true pair of AR glasses, codenamed Orion, internal launch in 2024, so next year, and then a public version in 2027. So we'll see. That's a long way out from Apple.
And this is what we're talking about, like it overlays holograms onto the real world, like the demos that Mark showed off, I think.
No, because Apple's still doing pass-through. The problem is nobody's figured out the display technology to actually do AR. So the hack right now is to be like, look like a wiener, wear a giant headset on your face, and the cameras will pass it through and process the information.
But that's what they're promising with this Orion thing, is that they're going to do these high-quality holograms.
In 2027, Orion will do the high-quality AR. That's
Sure.
Meta's roadmap.
Allegedly.
That's their projection for
Sure.
when they'll do it. We'll see. And they'll have an internal prototype in 24. So next year. So between their internal prototype and actually consumer launches on this roadmap, 3
I'll just
years.
write a stub for the internal tests have been delayed until 2025 right now. Let me just get that ready.
But Alex, you're right. That stack of problems is really hard, right? And we've gone through it many times on the show, but I'll do it one more
100%.
time. It's, you need glasses on your face. The glasses have to contain a camera, enough cameras to see the world around you. You have to pass all the information from the camera onto a computer that can recognize what you're looking at, go out to the internet, figure out what it is you're seeing, figure out what to augment reality with, send it back to you in like zero latency, or process all that locally. You need a battery that can run all this all day, and you need a display that's thin and optically transparent enough so that they're just glasses and you're not like...
Yeah. With a large enough field of view that it feels like reality is being augmented and a postage stamp isn't.
Yeah. This is not a solved problem. Like every part of that is 0% solved. Well, maybe not zero. Every part of that is way less than 50% solved. Like even the part where it's like you want to go out to the cloud computing center and like identify the tree and send it back to you with zero latency. That was the whole point of 5G. And like, does anyone want to trust that to the current state of 5G networks? I was in New York City last week. I pulled 35 down on AT&T 5G Plus. You are not allowed to augment reality. Like that is just, it's already a horrible experience.